hope is one of the virtues that lasts forever. And even though things may seem dark, or things may not seem like things are going well in your life, or there's physical sufferings or relationship problems or circumstances that you're not enjoying in your life, there's always room to hope. As I said in my introduction at Mass, when the Pope came to the United States, it was all about bringing hope. And he talked about Christ is our hope. And he also talked about how hope isn't just for the hereafter, it's for the here and now. And what I like to tell you is that hope means that God is doing something good in you and in me right now. I don't know if you ever heard the story of St. Ignatius of Loyola. St. Ignatius was a great saint and the founder of the Jesuits. When he was a young man, he went off to fight wars for the King of Spain, the Duke of Spain. And as he was fighting a war, a cannonball came and almost blew his leg right off and broke his other leg. He ended up in the hospital. And it was there in the hospital, in the midst of all that tragedy and suffering and pain, that St. Ignatius surrendered his life to Christ and became one of the greatest saints that ever lived. And he has that beautiful prayer, "Take, Lord, receive all my liberty, my understanding, my entire will." And that happened in the midst of his pain. You know, at first glance, when that cannonball hit him, you might think, well, that was terrible. How can anything good come out of this? But God brought good out of it. And think about the Jesuits. They're across the world teaching, proclaiming Christ, the Society of Jesus, doing great things. You see, when I talk about hope, now you got to understand this in the Spirit. You got to look a little deeper. When I talk about God does something good, He does the good through sometimes bad. For example, you look at the cross here for a minute. God writes straight, I love this saying, God writes straight with crooked lines. He brought resurrection out of the cross. God did not cause the cross, but He brings good out of it. Interesting, we call it Good Friday that we celebrate the cross. What's so good about a man dying on a cross? Because He brings forgiveness, He brings life, He brings salvation. That's why we call it good out of the midst of something bad. So try now as I speak, when I'm talking about hope, try to see in the Spirit, not the way the culture teaches us about what is good. Because the culture says if it's good, you're young, you're good looking, you've got all your health, you've got a lot of money. That's good. Not necessarily. Because there's a lot of good looking, young, rich people that are lost. No, I'm talking about the good that God brings through sometimes suffering. Let me tell you some stories. I got a lot of stories, so tune in here. First of all, there was a wise farmer. And he had a horse. He just had one horse. He was kind of poor, but he had a lot of wisdom. And the horse was hitched to a plow, and he's out plowing his land and cutting the ground to get it ready for the sowing. And he's out there. All of a sudden, the harness on the horse broke, and the horse took off. And he jumped the fence and took off and left. His only horse. The neighbors come over. We heard what happened. Your horse took off. That's bad luck. The farmer said, bad luck, good luck, who knows? Next day, the horse came back, and it had a whole herd of wild horses behind it. Now, the farmer's got all these horses, and the neighbors come running over. Oh, we heard what happened. You've got all these horses now. That's good luck. The farmer said, good luck, bad luck, who knows? Next day, farmer's son's up on one of these wild horses trying to break it. He's up there trying to, tame it and break it, and all of a sudden, gets bucked off, falls, breaks his leg. Neighbors come running over again. They heard all about it. Oh, we heard what happened to your son. That's bad luck. Wise farmer said, bad luck, good luck, who knows? The next day, the army came to town, and they conscripted all the able-bodied young men to go off to war. Now, because this farmer's son had a broken leg, they left him alone. Now, was that good luck, bad luck? Who knows? You see what I'm saying? That we don't know what's good and what's bad, and sometimes it's the bad things in life that actually turns out to be good. And that's what I mean by God's at work in this stuff, in your sufferings, in your relationships, in the trials. Believe me, God's at work. I'm going to keep telling you stories to try to solidify this point so that when you go home and you go back to your mess or whatever you're dealing with and you watch them by TV so you'll quit moping, you'll start hoping. because you can cope through hope. You know what cope? You know how a lot of people cope? It's a psychological mechanism to be able to handle your life. Some people cope by escaping. Other people cope by drinking. That's a form of escapism. Other people cope by being depressed. Well, I want to tell you, you can cope through hope. And hope means that God's at work in your situation, no matter how hard or how bad it seems. If you know anything about golf, there's a par 3 that's a short hole, par 4, medium length hole, par 5 is the long hole. You know, a par is a good score of 5 on a par 5. Well, I remember I came up to the par 5 and I'm standing there, it's this real long hole, and you always look for the trouble. And on the left-hand side, it looked kind of open. The right-hand side had a marsh, you know, with these pussy willows growing and everything, and it was over there. I said, don't go over there. So I lined up to hit the ball, and because I didn't want to go to the right, I aimed a little to the left. And ironically in golf, here's a little golf lesson, ironically in golf, when you aim to the left and you swing, it makes the ball even go further right. You cut it. So anyway, I swung real hard and I hit it, and it started off to the left and it started going over there, right by the marsh. I go, oh no. It went right where I didn't want to hit it, and I took my bag, my club, I slammed it in the bag, and I said, that's bad luck, right over in the marsh. So I go over to the marsh, you know, I'm looking for balls and my ball, and as I go over there and I'm looking, I look and I said, there's a ball, and I go over and I pick it up, and it's not my ball, but it was a nice new ball. And somebody else hit it over in the marsh, you know, and I'm looking, and I found another ball, and another ball, and another ball, and then right there on a little grass clump of grass, I found my ball. Looked, hit the ball right over the water into the fairway, third shot on the green. I made the putt for a birdie. When I first started the hole, I said, this is terrible, I'm in the marsh. When I finished the hole, I had a bag full of balls and a birdie. So I mean, and it all happened, you know. See, good things can happen. Sometimes the hard things of life make you bear down and concentrate even more. You know, you got to be aware of that. Sometimes things that, you know, seem crazy can turn out to good. I remember when I was in college, for example, I was dating a girl, freshman year in college. I loved this girl. She loved me. I thought we were going to get married. 9 months later, we ended up breaking up. Oh, I was devastated. I mean, it wasn't my first relationship, but it was a powerful one. And I mean, one of the hardest things to do in life is to separate. But if there's some problem and trial or situation in your life, that's when you're going to search, that's where you're going to look for something. And really, I had a major conversion because of that relationship. So I want to tell you, you know, if you're going through a hard time in a relationship, look for God. Have hope. And you can cope in your suffering. You can believe that there's meaning in your pain through what you're going through. Remember I shared with you Monday a crucial scripture, Romans 8:29. We've been predestined to be conformed to the image of Jesus. Now, I want to give you another scripture, the one right before it, Romans 8:28. Put that one on your mirror too. Get this. God makes all things work to good, that's what we're talking about here this morning, for those who love him. All things work to good. I heard this story about this man, he's out on his yacht, and he's out, you know, going sailing, and all of a sudden a storm came and he got shipwrecked, and he started to swim, and he saw a desert island. He made it to the desert island, he gets there, he goes, God, why did you let this happen? He says, okay, what am I going to do? He says, I better build a little hut and make some shelter for myself. So he builds a little wooden hut, starts a fire next to the hut because night was coming. Then he goes, I got to go off and get some coconuts and bananas or something to survive. So he goes off, gets some coconuts and bananas, and he looks, he comes back. The wind had blown the fire onto the hut. Now the hut's ablaze. There's smoke going up in the air. He throws the coconuts and the bananas down, and he goes, God, why did you let this happen? Why did you do this to me? He's blaming God. About an hour later, ship comes into the harbor. He goes up to the captain. He's saved. He goes up to the captain. He says, how in the world did you find me? I'm in the middle of nowhere. Captain said, well, that was easy. We saw your smoke signal. Don't just live, live with passion.